I'm Tony, and today we are going to make a three-dimensional D10 from these pieces. Now, if you don't have these pieces created yet, and you need the pattern or templates or fabrics, I've got the pattern link down below. My patterns do include all of the paper templates and all of the fabric templates so that you can print them off, copy them, and get it together. So once you've got it in this stage, then we can put it together. So let's do it. The first step you want to do is actually combine these. So in the pattern, it says A to A and B to B. So, and it's hard to show it in the pattern because it turns it into a three-dimensional. So I'm going to be starting here. There we are, and going down. Now you can, to make it a lot easier, fold this just like this. And I'm going to put my clip right there, and then whenever I go to start, I'm sliding it underneath. Now the thread that I'm using, I think I forgot to mention the D8. The thread that I'm using is matching the color of the fabric so that it blends right in there. Now I've got it underneath, so I can take that and just kind of tuck it on in there. Alright, so all I'm going to do is the very first stitch. I'm going to make sure that I start off with a knot. So of course, if you have an English paper piece before, I do have a tutorial linked down below that you can take a look at. It is super important that you do know how to English paper piece before you do these projects. The three-dimensional projects are a little bit tougher. They are an intermediate based. So if you don't know the basics, then make sure you take a look at learning how to do the basics first. Alright, so after I knot that, then I'm going to just go right down the side. And after I go right down the side, I will knot off on the end and then do the second one. Now, as you see, it's important that the thread matches because you're seeing these stitches. This is not like what we are used to doing for English paper piecing, where you're sewing wrong sides to wrong sides. I'm sorry, sewing right sides to right sides. In this case, you're sewing wrong sides to wrong sides. So you'll actually see all of these stitches on the outside of your dice. Alright, so I'm going to go finish these two up, and then I'll show you the next step. Now that we have our two caps, we need to make sure that all of the flippy flappies are pulled away, because as we are sewing this together, we want to make sure that we do not sew any of these into what we're doing, because we don't want them to stick out. So going through and then pulling them all away. Okay, that one's good. Now for the next one. And we're just going to take a single piece of thread to sew this whole thing. This one I think is my favorite one to assemble, just because it's almost like it's a puzzle piece that the one fits on top of the other. There we are. So what we're going to do is we are taking our one and we are placing it on the other. Sorry, I'm just looking at the pattern to see how I have it laid. Alright, so according to the pattern, the 7D, so this one's going to go hit 4. So our 4 is here. There we are. So it's going here. So the 7 point is going between the 4 and the 10, and our 4 is going between the 1 and the 7. So we're going right there. So to start it off, we're doing this. I'm actually going to flip this one, and again, this one's a little bit different. So we're going to start this one like we normally do, right sides to right sides. There we are. And I'm going to sew this one just like I do, come to the end, and then I'll show you the next step as we flip it. Alright, so I did my one side, so now I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to continue on sewing just like this. So it's really hard to get started on that first one, which is why I think it's easier to do there, because it's on a hinge. So we can just flip it over and now do this. Now, as you're sewing, be careful to make sure that your corners line up and your flippy flappies are tucked in, and then you can just continue on. So I'm going to keep sewing this. Sorry, I'm trying to shift it. There it is. Now that's good. So I'm going to continue on sewing this until I'm all the way over here. When I'm at this last stitch right here, before I close this, I'll stop and I'll show you how we're going to stuff this. I stopped a little bit early. So as I was sewing this along, I realized that little tiny space is going to be almost impossible to stuff it. So I stopped with 2 stitches to go, 2 lines to go, and now we can start stuffing this. So I've got my polyfill that you just take and you stuff through that hole, just like that, and fill this up. Now, whenever I think that it's filled enough to where I think it's going to hold the shape and be balanced, at that point I'll stop and sew it closed. Basically, you want to try to fill it with as much polyfill as possible without overstuffing it. Yeah, a little bit. You know what? I think a little bit more. I think that's good. Basically, you look to see, do you like the way it's filled out? Is it not too full? Yeah, it looks like it's pulling on my stitches. So you see right here, it's pulling on the stitches right there. If it does that for yours and you don't like that, you can, of course, re-stitch that again after you filled this with polyfill. It's got a couple of those like that. I like it. It's fine. I don't mind if it's spreading a little bit. All right, so now I'm going to finish off these last 2 sides. And after I finish the end right here, I'll come back and I will show you my D10. And I have my D10. Now, I didn't show this in previous videos if you've made the D4, D6, D8. I didn't show how to bury the thread before because those are, you know, easier dice to make, easier 3D dice. If you're making the D12, the D10, D12, or D20, well, chances are you're a little bit more experienced. So how you bury this is I've already knotted this off on the end, and I want to take this and I want to bring it across through here. So you see I've taken the needle and I've buried it over there, and then I'm going to bring this out and then trim this right there. And the reason why we don't want to do this until you're a little bit more experienced with English paper piecing is that trim I just did right there, there's a good chance that someone that's not experienced could cut one of those threads. We don't want to do that. For anyone that's ever had that happen to their English paper piecing, yeah, that's not a good thing. All right, so let's take a look at this. If you've never rolled a D10 before, where it lands, it's the one that's up right there. So in this case, it would be a rolling a 3. All right, let's see. We've got a 7. Oh, a 10. So we know it goes on the other side. Oh no, I dropped it on the floor. Where'd it go? Oh no, dice down, dice down. Ah, and there's a 1 and a 6. There we are. All right, I think I'm pretty balanced. I think it can be used as a D10. That's my D10. That was fun to make. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to follow my YouTube as well as X, Facebook, Instagram, my Quite Nerdy Quilters Facebook group. I stream live on Twitch. If you want to interact with me live on Twitch, or if you want to see me live, take a look at my schedule. I post them on Monday. I keep my travel schedule on my website. And thank you for watching.